Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Jane and I were just going through all the attendees and there's so many familiar names. We're honored for you to join us today. This is something we've never done before. Jane and I just returned from Kenya.
Jane, separately. She was on her honeymoon.
Yeah,
I didn't join her.
Thank goodness. But we just returned from Kenya separately and we thought we'd do just a discussion. This is we have a presentation of like photos and our experience. We want to go over just some new things, but this is open. So what I want you guys to do on your GoToWebinar control panel, there is a questions box. I'm going to have that open the entire time. So this is supposed to be interactive. We are here to help you. We want to share our experience and then at the end just go through some questions and see what you guys are thinking and what's at the top of your minds. But let me go ahead and open the question box right now before I open the presentation. Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I got married in October. What a year to plan a wedding. Poor Jane had to deal with a crazy bride, not a bridezilla.
It wasn't a bridezilla. She was just nervous about having to replan a wedding and replan a honeymoon and all of that.
Yeah.
But it was a lovely wedding.
It was really fun, but 2020, was not the year to plan a wedding. But I'm so thankful that we were still able to go on our honeymoon, and Jane was also able to get there right after our wedding with her husband. So.
Yeah, and so just so you know, what I did is I've had a dream for a long time of wanting to go for a month or two. So my husband works with Home Depot Corp, and they gave him the okay to work out of Kenya. So we were there over Thanksgiving. So between that, he only missed a day and a half of work. So it truly was a working trip, but yet we'd go on morning game drives. For me, going on a game drive is work. So I would do the afternoon ones most of the time. He wouldn't. So great opportunity for people who really want to get away to do that and just to have a different office. And the only time we had a problem with connectivity was staying at our friend's house where something hit a line in Nairobi. So everywhere else, he had perfectly good connectivity.
Amazing. Yeah, and I was not working at all. My voicemail literally said, don't leave me a message. Yeah. I'm not checking. So yeah, it's a great time to travel. And let's jump in here. I'm just going to share my screen. I do have a presentation that I want to show you guys. Let me minimize our questions here. We'll get back to those questions. Don't worry. So let me go here. All right, so we're going to travel to Kenya with Jessie and Jane. We both essentially did the same exact itinerary. You all know, well, hopefully you all know, we represent the Elawana collection in East Africa, as well as Kelly and Peacock Safaris, Sky Safaris, Sopa Lodges, and
then in East Africa, we also have Adventure Consultants in Uganda, Rwanda, and then we have the Anantara properties in Zambia and Mozambique.
Correct.
So.
But this particular trip, we were lucky enough to travel with Elawana, and Jane saw a few of the SOPA properties as well. We'll jump into that a little bit later, but we essentially did the same exact itinerary.
We only have a few properties that are open.
Exactly.
So that made it, our choices very limited.
Yeah, so basically what Jane and I did is we both started in Nairobi. Jane spent a lot more time in Nairobi, which she'll be touching on in just a second. But we both spent time in Nairobi and then flew south to Amboseli National Park, then back up north to Lewa Wildlife Conservancy. Then we went to the Masai Mara, and then we both ended our trip in Diani, which I never knew that I needed the beach so bad after safari. I'm sure you guys have been on FAMs or trips that you do, safari, and then jump right back on a plane and head back to work. I personally love to have someone bringing me champagne in a cabana all day. I don't know about
I wasn't on my honeymoon, so they didn't bring me champagne. But what we did is we actually did Diani after Tortolas, because what we wanted to do is spend Thanksgiving at the beach where we really didn't have to think at all. Yeah. And we were able to do that. When I was in various places, I also went and visited any of the closed SOPA lodges. They only have one that is open in Kenya. And so I did overnight a couple of days at Lake Nakuru also, which was really great fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, awesome. So we just wanted to break it down a little bit. I'm sure that you guys have heard this, but Jane and I will just explain the new rules, which I'm sure you've heard before, but just our experience. We both went from Atlanta to Nairobi. Jane took a different airline than I did, which we'll explain in a moment. But basically, prior to arrival, you brought how many masks with you?
Oh, I just brought about 100 masks with me.
Yeah,
just
know,
to
right?
have them, because I prefer the paper ones anyway.
Exactly. So I'm sure you guys know all airports, all airlines, everything, you have to be wearing a mask. So whether you're on an international or domestic flight, which we'll get into also, it doesn't hurt to bring a few paper masks.
And I like to switch up my masks. Just when, I'm going through the Amsterdam or airport, let's put another one on before I get on the flight, and midway through, just to play it safe.
And the men will not understand, but all the women, I don't know about you, but I have like just lipstick and my blush, and I don't know why I buy makeup or put makeup on the lower half of my face. But anyway, yeah, it's nice to put on a fresh mask. You all know a negative COVID PCR test has to be provided on arrival. That has to be administered and results given. So it doesn't matter if your results are given, if your results are back within 96 hours, you have to be tested and results given in those 96 hours. So I'm not sure if that's clear to everyone. I was reading too much into it, but anyway, tested.
It's pretty simple.
Tested and results given within 96 hours. Jane and I both are. We both printed ours.
Yes, print your negative COVID test, and also there's a QR code that you have to get from the Ministry of Health that you fill out. Print that also, because people have the great idea to do everything electronically, and what I was finding is, whoops, people couldn't pull up their email and stuff when they arrived in Kenya. So always have a printed copy of those. And another thing to be aware of, the e-visa.
They had not changed it to prior to arrival when Jane and I both traveled, but you must apply for your e-visa online prior to arrival now. Jane and I both got ours on arrival, which apparently doesn't exist anymore.
But it's kind of a nightmare, the e-visa. They're working on it, so
yeah. Not our problem.
Good
but yeah.
luck. So sorry.
Thankfully. And then just lastly, this also, actually, it didn't apply to you, the Trusted Traveler. It was implemented the day before we left, my new husband and I, the day before we left Nairobi. So I actually had to do it in Nairobi before we left, and it was brand new. It was a guy at a cardboard table outside with the Trusted Traveler code. But anyway, entry and exit is super, super easy. You all should be quite familiar on that by now. Jane and I both took Delta.
We live in Atlanta. What else does one fly?
So we both, was my first time in business, actually. Out of all the years I've been in travel, we got upgraded. Nobody was in business anyhow, but Jane over here is a business pro. Anyway, we both flew business Delta.
I've earned it.
Yeah. So both flew Delta. Jane flew to Amsterdam.
I flew Amsterdam. Amsterdam was, just so you know, going through very easy. They checked our papers there 3 times before we got on the flight, to make sure we were allowed to get into Kenya. Make sure you know on the sheet where your negative is, because every company has it somewhere differently, and they're always searching for it. So it was good to be able to point out where it says negative on there. Also, just so you know, most insurance companies are reimbursing for the tests. I was really lazy and had someone come to my house and do the tests, and Kaiser reimbursed me.
Same here as well. Delta's not selling middle seats, so I personally thought Delta was my best experience. Air France was okay. They are still selling all the seats, so unfortunately we didn't get upgraded from France to Nairobi, so we did have someone else sitting next to us, but the blue surgical mask is required. We had to take off our cloth mask for Air France, and then for KLM.
They did. We just were wearing the paper ones anyway, so it wasn't an issue for us. KLM, the service, the big difference is you get everything at once.
Same thing
when
with
they're serving, but it was terrific. Absolutely no qualms whatsoever about going. And for those yeah, I got accused of being tone deaf by going and sharing it on the internet that we, on Facebook that we were there. We certainly do take COVID very seriously, but I feel like if we're in the industry, my husband and I, Jessie, well, you've already had COVID, but we were all willing to take that a calculated risk of going. So please don't think we're COVID. We're very serious about it. And I would say everywhere we went, in Kenya, even things were better than at home.
Yeah,
let's see if there are any questions.
Yeah, okay, so let's pause for a second. We'll see if there's any questions. I'll just open the question box. Congratulations. Let's see, we'll get into visa. We already explained visas. Jane, what was the weather like in November?
The weather was fabulous. Wasn't too hot. Well, it's never too hot there, but it was, they were starting to get some rains, but I'm the luckiest person on earth, and the rains missed us all but at night.
Yeah.
So,
lucky duck.
So it was really good, and yeah, fabulous time to go.
I'm recording this, by the way, if any of you are interested in sharing with your clients or with your colleagues. The migration in November, Jane, that's in the end?
No, well, the migration is year round. But it wasn't the migration was not in Kenya while we were there, though they do have a lot of animals there year round, including wildebeest. But it was not technically at that point. It is in
no major crossings.
No major crossings.
Yeah.
So
in November and
but it's also in the Serengeti that time of year.
Exactly. We'll take a couple more questions and we'll get back to the presentation. Just to clarify, the one-time service for the flights, for all the flights that we were on, basically they asked you what you wanted for your meal and they asked you what you wanted for your drink too. So for example, when you were given your meal, I asked for 2 glasses of wine because they wanted to limit people in the aisle, servers in the aisle.
KLM was a little more liberal. They were coming through with other drinks and with coffee service.
Research your airline based on that. COVID tests for the US, I got mine in an urgent care. Jane had someone come to her.
Yeah, I had someone come to your house. Honestly, based on where you live, the best thing is to type in travel PCR test on Google and find the nearest one to you, and then make sure that they know you're traveling. And a lot of companies are making sure they get them within 24 hours. Mine actually guarantees 24 hours, but she said most of the time it's there in 12, and that's what we experienced.
Yeah, and then now going back, I'll just go back to the, oops, let me exit out of the question. Sorry guys, I'm just going back and forth here. And now with you and with me, it was not required to get a PCR test to get back into the US. So neither of us had to do
We did not.
that. So I'm gonna let Jane kind of dig into Nairobi. I was just there a little bit, but we just wanted to explain if your guests are staying longer in Nairobi, which there's so much to do and see. We just wanted to touch on Nairobi.
Yeah, there is most of the time, hopefully your guests are with the DMC, so they have somebody driving them around. Because I was on a company trip, my husband and I spent a week in Elawana's Nairobi office. We were on a little different schedule. There is a 10 p.m. curfew. If make sure any of your guests, if they are going out to dinner, that they have their transportation arranged. I was at a friend at Brigitte with Sopa's house for dinner, which is in Westlands. I was staying in Karen, and at 7:30, 7:45, I said, shouldn't I get my Uber? No, you're fine. Well, we had 8 Ubers cancel on us.
Oh my God.
We almost had to spend the night in their guest room. Luckily, we found a driver who would take us. And the problem is, they all want to be back before curfew. We did tip him very well. I think he had to sleep in his car.
Oh God.
So, but we tipped very well for that. But just know that can be an issue. So have any meals and everything prearranged. Also in Karen, some of the restaurants were taking their last order at 7.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to eat every meal at a hotel, but sometimes you need to.
Right now, yeah, exactly. It's on the next slide, but Jane and I both had the opportunity to visit the Giraffe Center. It is open. Super sad, but Sheldrick is not taking visitors right now, even if you've adopted an elephant. So unfortunately, Sheldrick is closed. I had no problem shopping. I don't know if you did any
None
shopping.
whatsoever.
All the little markets and shopping places are open. Karen Blixen Museum is open. So just, do your research. It's not too bad. I wanted to include this. This is Jane's arrival video. Fumigating or whatever you want to.
Yeah, this is Kelly and Peacock. They were making sure we weren't bringing COVID onto the vehicles.
Yeah. And a couple of properties did this as well.
I was there a month. I had one giant suitcase. So whoops,
Exactly.
but I left it in Nairobi in between.
Yeah, exactly. Just more on Nairobi. Like I said, the Giraffe Center is open. Jane and I both visited the Giraffe Center, and I don't know how the heck the travel gods were on our side. We spent a night at Giraffe Manor. Matt, my husband, and I got lucky enough, so that was absolutely amazing. They're following all COVID protocols too. That was really fun, but we were there for less than 12 hours. I wanted to touch on what's different on the ground, and explain. So if you want to, I'll base off of you.
So, okay, I will say protocols in Kenya, on arrival at the airport, absolutely fabulous. Remember, most of all the African countries were dealing with Ebola. So they already had the full body scan temperature. They already had all of that equipment. They just put all of that back up. So really, really well done. Much better than I experienced coming home, who they didn't care about anything. What I found the biggest thing is I love always talking to other guests at the camps, and it's much more insular now. You're not really eating with other people. A couple of times we met some other people and we're comfortable with them, but so keep in mind that that's a little different, where you don't interact as much with other guests. At the Elawana properties, at least, we are having, is it 4 per vehicle? 4 per vehicle?
4 per vehicle.
4 per vehicle. So you're not necessarily meeting as many people as you normally do. And then village and community visits.
Kind of depends per conservancy, per property that you're staying at. My husband and I were lucky to visit one just outside of Amboseli, but I've heard that there's a lot of villages and communities that are not accepting guests at this time. So just be prepared if your guests are interested in doing a village or community visit to research which ones are open.
Yeah.
Limited activities, just based horseback riding or ballooning. It just, limited staff. So just make sure you research that before.
Yeah, they don't have as many people buying into like the ballooning and things like that. So you're going to have to be very flexible on when you do some activities.
The domestic flights are different.
Yeah, that is a real issue.
Yeah.
On any trips right now, if you're planning from now until May, I would recommend that you build in some time for canceled flights. Or be willing to pay for 4 seats on a flight.
That was our, not problem, but he just paid for a wedding. So unfortunately, and also the domestic flights, there's not a lot. So for example, we flew from Nairobi to Amboseli, and then normally you're able to fly from Amboseli to Lewa or Lewa to the Mara. It's all, bush flights that you can connect. We flew back to Wilson every single time just because there weren't enough people on the flight. It was like an Uber.
And I had to drive one time to Tortolas because our flights were canceled. On the way back, I had Kieran Day from Kelly and Peacock fly and pick us up, which was pretty darn cool.
Lucky.
So all I had to do was ask.
Exactly. So yeah, domestic flights are tricky. You guys all, your agents, it's out of our control. But yeah, just prepare your guests to be flexible. And then Jane already mentioned meals are different. There's not really so many family style buffets.
Yeah, and if they are doing a buffet, they will serve you. But a lot of times, depending on how many guests there are, they're just bringing everything to the table.
In small portions, which I love. Yeah, because I always overeat.
And hand washing stations all over the place, which is terrific. Taking your temperature checks. One thing at Elawana they're not doing right now on arrival is the hot towels, just because of COVID. Nobody, they just kind of want to keep that
limited
separate.
contact. Anything
but they have hand washing stations.
Anyone that anyone touches, it's just they're trying to decrease contact.
Yeah.
So I love a hot towel after safari, but unfortunately, just right now, Elawana in particular has paused it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to go into our trip. We'll kind of just what we wanted to do is share our highlights. Again, this is a discussion, so after Tortoise, maybe we'll take some questions, or should we
I
take
think
some?
we should look now.
Okay, just
I'll let
this.
Jessie do it.
Sorry.
It's her computer.
Just click this. So let's go down here.
There was one about protocol a little further up.
Right here. Oh, the 96 hours. Say that again. For the
Yeah,
time.
it is 96 hours from the time the test is taken.
So the time it goes into the nasal swab, into your nasal cavity, your 96 hours starts.
Yeah.
So test administered and results have to be given within 96 hours prior to arrival. I'm tired of COVID shaming. We are too.
Oh, it was terrible.
Exactly. We're trying to, get everyone dreaming of travel again and showing you, realistically what it's like. We'll be talking about what needs to be done to return. We kind of went through that, but when Jane and I went, just keep in mind this was before the U.S. had.
Yeah, so if people now have to have COVID tests to return, so there are a couple of ways you can do it. Your DMC can arrange that. They can either have a doctor or nurse fly out to the camp and do that. And a lot of the camps are, if they have a lot of people who are leaving, the Mara tends to be the end of people's trip. So a lot of the camps there, will have a lot of people, so they'll share the cost of the doctor flying out and then flying back with the results. You can also, if you give yourselves 24 hours in Nairobi or come the day before, the Sheraton 4 Points at the airport is doing COVID tests, and it's a rapid result. So that's another option.
Did you see any wildebeest in November?
I did, but not in herds.
Yeah.
So it was the gnu's standing there by themselves.
Yeah.
The lonely males.
Sky Safari, we mentioned that at the beginning. So Sky Safari will be starting in May of this year. Sky Safari, our other client, if you guys are keep following along with us, I actually just did a webinar with Mia. If you head over to the Emerging Destinations website, you can learn about all the new itineraries that we just launched.
Yeah, so we have completely new itineraries. If you've already sold one, you're grandfathered in on the old ones, but completely new ones that include all tips, everything. And of course, on the planes, they're doing all the COVID protocols and everything else.
Someone's mentioned that Sheldrick is accepting private visits. My apologies. When I was there, it was closed, and I even asked if I could see. So if something's changed, my apologies. So again, everything is changing so quickly. So Sheldrick is accepting private visits. I'm not sure on just from my experience. Of the Elawana properties in Kenya, which one's the best for hiking?
You know what? I think some of the best hiking. Remember, if you're going to go hiking, you need to be on private land. And are you asking what's open now, or let's say for May? Yeah. So Lewa has some really good hikes that you can do from there. Loisaba, you remember, it's a private conservancy, so they have some really good hikes. You can do some walks in the Mara North Conservancy for elephant pepper. Everything is going to depend on whether you're in the national park or whether you're at a reserve. Always at a conservancy. Always at a conservancy, you'll have the opportunity to go out. And I did a really nice one at Tortoise, which was kind of fun. We went and saw the local Maasai boys. With the cattle and where they sleep for the night. And It was really interesting.
Cool. Okay, keep typing your questions. We'll just run through our trip, and I just wanted to do some highlights. Yeah, are we good on time? Yeah, okay. Not too bad. So like I said, Jane and I did the same or stayed at the same, kind of the same route. So we wanted to start in Tortoise. This is actually a picture that one of the guests at Tortoise that Matt and I were staying with took. I don't think he's on here, but his name was Dean, and I just thought this was the coolest photo of an elephant in Amboseli National Park. But Jane and I both agree, I don't know what it was, but this was my 5th time on safari. I don't even know for you, 100. We had some of the best animal interactions and sightings ever. I told my husband, I was like, it took me 3 times to get to East Africa before I saw a decent up-close leopard, and we saw a ton. It was amazing.
And I think it's because of the lack of people. The animals are just showing themselves more. They're not disturbed by vehicles as much. I would say for me, the biggest surprise at Amboseli were the flamingos. They were
I told Jane this looks like a postcard.
Believe it or not, I went to Lake Nakuru and I can only see a few flamingos in the distance. And here, I mean, I have some of my best pictures ever that I've taken of flamingos.
These are all our photos. These
Yeah.
are Jane's in particular. So all these photos that you've seen so far, photos from me and then one from another guest. But.
Yeah. So, but I think one thing when you're planning a trip, especially COVID right now we're getting a lot of local people coming on weekends or 3-day weekends. So I would use a Saturday as a travel day because they're leaving by Sunday. I mean, I had 4 hours without seeing another vehicle in the Conservancy here and in Baselli. Mm-hmm. So pretty special.
And you had great views of Kili.
And I'm the weather queen, so welcome to my world. I've never not seen Kili when I've been there.
And
so
this was my first time seeing it.
But it was the kind of trip where I'd say, I think I need some elephants with Kili in the background. Oh, I need ostrich with Kili in the background, and boom, there it would be.
Yeah.
So
I think Jane's highlight, I think, was, the weather. And in Tortola, my highlight for me was it was my husband's first safari. So it was so, I keep saying cute. I need to find a different word, but it was so
refreshing,
amazing to see it through his eyes. So he would get so excited. Oh my God, an elephant. And, it was just really awesome. So
yeah.
It was
my
great.
Coolest here, though, there was an elephant moving really, really fast with a hyena running right by it.
Oh, cool.
I actually have it on video. That was pretty cool.
I think we'll do maybe a link to a few of the videos.
With Kili right there.
Of course. And then a highlight for me, I just put this bottom right photo. It was so nice to be out in nature. We live in Atlanta. It's the concrete jungle. So
well, she lives in the concrete jungle. I don't.
That's true.
But
lives in town.
Yeah. But the thing is to remember, East Africa, actually anywhere on safari, has exactly what people are looking for during COVID time, and I think post-COVID. Great wide open spaces. All your dining, even if you're under a cover, it's still open air. So you've got the space, you've got air circulating. Mm-hmm. You've got you can be your own little pod with your guide, who are all wearing their masks. Mm-hmm. So
exactly, it was just nice to breathe the fresh air. Then we both visited Lewa Safari Camp. This is one of Jane's photo. I thought it was a great photo in Lewa, and Jane had some amazing wildlife sightings in Lewa. If you just want to talk about.
Well, I mean, any place that you get to the point that you're saying, oh, another rhino.
Yeah.
Another rhino. It was unbelievable. The rhino, the Grevy's zebras, seeing the northern five, so you have the Grevy zebra, you've got the Somalian ostrich, which are blue, not pink. But also what was really surprising here for me was the elephant viewing. I saw, at one point over 100 elephants at one time, because what they've done is they've got from Lewa, they've done an underpass over at the after the highway to give a corridor for Mount Kenya for the elephants to go there. And then also, so now they've got the Northern Rangeland Trust going all the way to Samburu. And it was just a time when a lot of the elephants were coming from Mount Kenya and heading up to Samburu. And I went to Samburu too here. We don't have photos of this here, but I was the only person on safari in Samburu that day. And
crazy.
It was crazy, unbelievable viewing. So it was really cool.
Yeah. And you learned about that new corridor from your visit to the radio room, right?
No, my guide.
That's where I learned about
it. My guide, Tom.
So. Oh, I had Tom too. Anyway, radio room is open. I never visited before. Had you visited before? No, this was amazing. Normally it's so hectic and busy, but I really wanted to take some time aside and go to the radio room / control room. And, you hear of the conservation that they're doing and, the rangers and all this stuff. The work that they're doing in Lewa is, I was having a hard time processing it.
Well, Lewa is a model for conservation worldwide.
Unbelievable.
They were one of the first conservancies doing everything they do. They have been so integral in saving the rhinos. Mm-hmm. And it is very computerized, and they've got some of the top computer companies, software companies in the world who are working with Lewa on tracking various animals, knowing where, they have rangers out all the time. And so they know where the rhinos are. Now, rhinos do get some privacy. If they've disappeared, they haven't seen them for a day or two, then they get really serious looking for them. But it was absolutely fascinating, really, what they're doing. They're well worth the time to go visit.
100%. I really enjoyed that. I just wanted to talk about one of my highlights that we had in Lewa. We had great wildlife sighting in Amboseli. The Mara's the Mara, but Lewa was just so different for me this time. We were in our vehicle with Tom, and we were out on a drive, and there was maybe two or three vehicles that were looking for some lions that were in the distance, and we tried to find them. Anyway, Tom was like, listen, I don't think we're gonna see them. They're quite far away. Let's go up on that ridge for our sundowner. Cool. And I'm about to wet my pants. I have to go to the restroom so bad. And I'm like,
we call it checking the tire.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm very happy
checking the air pressure.
The air pressure, exactly. I'm very happy that we've decided not to find the lions, and we go up on this ridge to have our sundowners. We're about to stop, and I'm about to ask if I can get out, and there's a leopard walking alongside of our vehicle. Tom, the guide, had not seen it. No one had seen it, and she had just come over to stand on the ridge because she had smelled the lions. So, well, thank God I didn't get out. So she ruined our sundowner, but we had drinks with a leopard, which I've never had happened before. So we enjoyed our drinks. It's amazing. You forget you have to go to the bathroom so bad when a leopard is in front of you. But anyhow, just wanted to share one of our experiences, and then just a few more photos that I took in Lewa. I believe Jane had the experience with these little cubs over here.
I did.
Oh, they were amazing. Rhino was as good as usual. Zebras, yada yada. Then lastly, or before we went to the
money shop. This is my money shot that I took at Sand River. And what is the bird in the background? That is a hammerkop in the background. Every time I've been to Sand River, I've had amazing leopard viewing, and I wish I could remember the name of this guy. He's very comfortable in front of guests. He doesn't mind walking right by you and just showing himself. So
these are all Jane's photos.
These are all mine, and believe it or not, guys, I have a zoom point and shoot. This is all automatic because I don't like to bother with lenses or anything. So, but Sand River, really, really special. It's in a very quiet area of the Mara, right next to Tanzania. So one of the things we did this time is we did the border drive. So we crossed the Sand River, and then we went all along the border, and even went to the old Sand River Gate, which has been closed for 25 years, but went there and then back, and that was really fun going into right by Tanzania.
Yeah. Nope, we did not go into Tanzania. We did not break any rules. But yeah, like Jane said, it's in a very secluded part of the Mara. So even when at the height of migration, of course, we can get you to major river crossings towards the Mara River, but you get to go back to your own little nook, if you will.
And we have a crossing right by camp.
Yeah,
Sand River.
On Facebook, this in complete lockdown over June, I think it was like 10-12 or something, just 16, just right in front of.
Yeah, so Karim, the owner of Elawana, one of his friends sent him a video of the crossing, and he said, for God's sake, get back in the vehicle. We're gonna lose our license. And he said, I'm standing on the veranda of tent 16. So.
It's amazing. Yeah, great migration this past year. But one of the highlights that I had in the Mara, this picture of Matt and I just here on the left, this is one of the, I think there's like 7 Mara River crossings. Anyway, we took the time on our last night in the Mara. It was about a 2-hour drive, but we drove to the Mara River to see one of the main, where one of the main crossings happens. Of course, it wasn't happening. It's not migration season. It was just us, the one vehicle in the Mara River. Obviously nothing was happening, but I just thought it was so crazy. Our guide said in high season during the migration, there'd be 100+ cars lined up. I think he said 7,000 to 8,000 animals at a time just crossing. So it was eerie to be here. You could see the trail of where the animals got up the riverbed, and I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah, and I did a day trip. I did a full day trip up to the Mara Triangle, and we saw 2 other vehicles all day long. I had the lion side. I actually could have reached out and touched a lion if I wanted. But I actually wanted to and chose not to.
Yeah.
I thought better of
Good
that.
idea.
But what I took a photo, which I should have put in here, of the crocodiles here at the river. They're so massive. I was going to call it after the feeding, because you're talking 16-foot crocs that are, I mean, they're so massive.
Amazing.
And I mean, I would not put my toe in that water with all those crocs that are there.
Heck no.
So.
Yeah, so that was really cool. I'm glad. I didn't know that you went to the Mara, but it was a long trip out, but totally worth it. And on our way back, there was a serval in the middle of the road, a serval cat in the middle of the road, and then a baby leopard on the way back from the our trip to the Mara River. So
yeah, and one of the things that we're finding though, they said like servals tend to be pretty unusual to see. Right now, because there aren't as many people, you are seeing so many servals.
So much
I mean, they said it's not at all unusual for people to see them right now. Don't promise it, but it's not. The other thing is I saw the what they call the five brother cheetahs. That at one point there were 20 vehicles spread over a really, really wide area. Every vehicle only had 1 or 2 people in it. And that was really pretty cool. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't get to see them, but really glad you did. Lastly, I wrapped up my trip at Afro Chic. Jane went there after Tortoise, but just I think I only have like 1 or 2 photos in here. We both went on a fishing trip.
That's my husband.
There's handsome Chris. Fishing's great right now. Jane actually in the Emerging Destinations team set up a nice dinner for my husband and I on the beach, which I just wanted to show because it was so, they just, I don't know, really made us feel so special. So it's the perfect ending to a safari. I highly, highly recommend the coast after safari. I didn't know how much I needed it.
Yeah, and the coast, you're going to meet a lot of locals there. There are a lot of locals that are going to Diani Beach. If people want to be able to walk miles on a sandy beach, it is an incredibly beautiful beach. Diani, it's been voted by some the most beautiful beach in Kenya. There aren't very many tourists there right now, so the beach boys can be a problem. I think you do, they can kind of harass you on the beach. So
when you leave the property.
When you leave the property, not on the property, of course. But just something to be aware of to manage expectations there. But I have to say, the seafood and the food at Diani was to die for. Incredible. It was so good. And then we went out fishing. I think that's the king mackerel that Chris caught, and I caught a huge barracuda. And that mackerel was delicious. We brought it back to the hotel and they cooked it for us for dinner.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yummo.
Yeah, so that was really good.
Nice.
So
I'm gonna end it here. That's our trip.
In questions.
Pause.
And that is me where I could have reached out and touched the lion.
We're reviewing the questions one. This is what they're seeing the tab. So okay, let's open here. For those of you that have to go, again, I've recorded this, but we just want to get to a few questions. Again, this is supposed to be interactive. So let's go. Okay, so.
Oh, is that it? No, there are more.
What are the maximum amount of people on? Okay, back to Sky Safari. Still 8 with a maximum of 9. We'll sell the co-captain chair for Sky Safari. Again, if you guys are interested in learning more about Sky Safari, go to the Emerging Destinations webinar tab. I just recorded a webinar with Mia about all the updates.
And then we're also happy to do any, one-on-one training that you and your teams need.
100%. Some photos. If you guys want photos, I'm happy to send those. If you follow Jane on Facebook or myself on Facebook, we posted a lot of personal photos, but maybe in this webinar follow-up, we share just some, Jane took some amazing videos. I have some great photos. So yeah. Let's see, flamingos and amboseli.
I have to say the flamingos and amboseli are unbelievable. They're evidently coming from Lake Natron. Anyway, they're coming from there, and unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just there were more and more every day.
The good sightings in the Masai Mara. I think we've made it really clear. I honestly, I'm not exaggerating. I would say, game viewing wasn't really great here. It was
great everywhere on this trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the only thing I didn't see at Amboseli, I didn't see any cats. but it didn't matter because everything else was so fabulous.
Made up for it later on the
Yeah,
trip.
we made up later on in the trip. If for books reading on destinations, oh, I'm a huge reader.
About books. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge reader. So of course my mind's going to go blank.
We actually have a reading list.
We have a reading list, but you know, Isaac Dennison is always good. I think the autobiography of, not the autobiography, the biography of Beryl Markham is well worth reading. I mean, there are so many really, really good books. Jessie, can we find the reading list and send it?
Yeah, we have a really great reading list with both Elawana and Kelly and Peacock, just on the destination period. So. Okay,
masks. Do we wear masks in vehicles? Guests do not have to wear a mask if they do not want to. We ask when you're walking in public areas and everything else that everyone wears them. So it really is how comfortable people are. Because most people are in their own little pods, they will take them off. Our guides are required to wear masks unless the guest specifically says, please take it off.
Yeah.
So,
but in common areas, walking back up to to dining, once you're seated, it's pretty much like here. Once you're seated, you can take it off. But yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with. I took ours off in the vehicle, and of course put it back on as soon as we arrived back in camp. Now that meal structure has changed, what would the typical Elawana breakfast and lunch contain? The only thing that's different is there's a few of our properties did family style, which I really love, dining with the other guests. Now everyone just has a private table. Menu hasn't changed.
Yeah, and actually what's happened with our menu is Nikki, our executive chef, is going through every lodge. I would say I hadn't been in 2 years. The food was even better. So, I mean, absolutely delicious. But yeah, I mean, breakfast, you have a wide choice. Do you want, I mean, it's always too much. They always bring fruit, they bring breads, pastries to the table. And then you can have a made to order breakfast.
Bush breakfasts are still happening. Bush meals are still happening. So that's all still very available. How many nights did you spend at each camp? This was different for both of us.
Yeah, I did 4 to 5 or 6.
Nice.
Yeah, I did. We did some time. We had some time there, which was so special. Just for me to get to know the staff better, to learn more. I mean, as you know, the longer you're there, the more you learn.
We did 3. I squeezed as much time out of my husband as I could for his work. I have a very flexible boss here, so she was very kind and working with me. So we did a 2.5-week trip and did 3 nights at each bush property and then 4 nights in the coast. So that's what we did for our honeymoon.
Now the radio room is actually with the Lewa. Okay, is the radio room standalone, or is it part of Lewa Safari Camp? No, it is part of the Lewa Conservancy. All of theirs there. So you have to go to the headquarters at the Lewa Conservancy. Oh, something else that happened in Lewa. Brilliant me. I have a pair of binoculars that I got for Christmas last year because I'm officially a twitcher bird watching with a harness. And I hooked it onto the harness and I kept saying, oh, I need to cut these little things out. I'm going to poke myself in the eye. I poked myself in the eye, scratched my cornea, and ended up having to go to the doctor there. So I went at the Lewa Conservancy to the medical center, which, yeah, not as fancy as a US hospital. They couldn't, you know, put the dye in my eye and everything. They took great care of me. My visit, including my $1.50 visit and my medicine, was under $2. So for $3.50, I walked out and I had antibiotic eye drops, this and that, and they, you know, the sad thing is they said, you know, some people can't even afford the $1.50.
Wow.
So, but it was well taken care of. I went to an eye doctor immediately when I got home, and they did everything just right.
We have questions about our cameras. Jane brings a point and shoot. I brought a point and shoot.
Okay, I have the best camera in the world. I purchased it with Delta Frequent Flyer Miles. It is a Sony CyberShot. It has a unbelievable zoom. Unbelievable zoom. And again, I didn't pay anything for it.
Just very portable. I'm not a photographer, so that the equipment, I don't have any of the equipment, but anyway.
I get tired of dealing with all the lenses and everything. I will say for photographers, just so you know, the best, almost some of the best photography in the world for elephants is done from Tortolas, from guests staying there. I mean, we have some world famous photographers who come down for a long time taking photos. It's really, really well known, and all of our guides for photography there are amazing because Tortolas is on the Kittura Conservancy. You can get out of the vehicle and they will get underneath the Jeep. So that's why you can be on the ground taking some of the elephant photos.
It's amazing.
The professionals are doing that.
I like this question. Are the guides and staff tested for COVID?
On a regular basis.
Very concerned about. I wasn't worried about me, but I wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure that, these guides and these staff members that are going back to their villages and back to their homes, there's like a holding period that they get tested before they even go back to their, it's 3 months on or 1 month off. Every property is different, but they are being tested before they are allowed to work, and they have to be tested before they're allowed to go home. So,
and they're tested during the week. Yeah, on a regular basis.
100%.
And I'm actually more concerned protecting them from us, because we're the ones who are on the international flights and everything else.
Exactly. What kind of camera do you have again, Jane?
It's a Sony CyberShot.
Sony CyberShot.
It is. I mean, I've had it like 4 or 5 years. It is the best.
Mine's a Nikon Coolpix. I don't even.
But get one with the big where it'll has a good telephoto lens.
Do you suggest a meet and greet company? I don't know which one.
Oh yeah, we actually Kelly and Peacock uses Tradewinds for their meet and greet. And just so you know, with the Sky Safaris now, we're even doing the Tradewinds meet and greet. And yeah, oh man, for those of you who don't know what it is, they will meet you when you get off the plane and walk you through customs and everything. You bypass all of the lines and everything else, and it's a great service.
It's amazing. Yeah, no more questions have come in. Gee, we took up almost 47 minutes of your time. I just wanted to have a discussion. I just wanted to be, just wanted to be informal and, no product updates. I just wanted to tell you about our experience and our trip and how it went for us. Everyone's different, but now is the time to go to Kenya. However you can get there. I know
if you're comfortable.
If you're comfortable, there's a lot more boxes to tick and things to do. And
yeah, this was crazy. On the way home, my husband and I were flying. We decided we were flying home on a Saturday night, and we were going to be in Nairobi all day, and we'd already been gone for a month. And I said, oh, let's go home a day early. Let me see. And I was just hoping Delta would just, no extra charges. He got 50,000 points back, and then I got a $1,600 credit back from Delta because my ticket was cheaper. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a weird time, but it's possible. You can do it. We're here to answer any other questions that you might have. Seems like I have a lot of stuff to follow up with. I'll include pictures and videos and reading lists and camera suggestions.
Yeah, and we're always happy to help with FAMs on an individual basis. We were trying to do one for this month, and it just didn't materialize. So, but we are trying to put together some FAMs for later on. Hopefully in April, May.
Cool. If we missed anything, or if there's anything that you had a specific question about, I think we got to all the questions, but we're here to help. It's Jane@emergingdestinations.com or Jessie@emergingdestinations.com. We hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for your time. I'll have this up on our website today. My goodness. Great. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
We missed you.